motivated.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nicholas, and today we're going to be looking at the knowns and unknowns list of buying a home. So, with that, let's crack on, alright? If you like this video and find value in some of the content that I'm providing you, feel free to follow my channel and stay tuned for weekly updates. We're going to be posting every Friday at 6 o'clock. For now, let's crack on, alright? So for this list, I'm actually going to split it into two different categories. So the first category is going to be items on the list that are related directly to purchasing your home. This is going to be things like down payment, fees associated with title, and taxes. And then the other list is going to be the second part of this video. That's going to include things that are more dependent on where you're coming from. So that can be things like transportation, food costs, and lodging. So for now, let's get started with the first side of the list, everything that's going to be related to the transaction itself. So as a general rule of thumb, and because I can't math too good, I typically use closing costs as about 3 to 4% of the purchase property of the home. Now that's going to apply to everything that is going to go through the transaction. So if you're buying a $500,000 home, your closing costs can estimate to be about $20,000 for the property itself. But for now, let's get into an itemized list of each individual charge. So, first things on this list is going to be your down payment. The down payment is going to be a majority of your charges for getting your next property, and is wildly dependent upon the price of the property that you're paying. So for example, if you're doing a $500,000 house, your down payment is going to be $100,000 at 20% down. Now, this can vary, of course, depending on which house that you get. If it's more or less, the down payment will fluctuate with that number to be more or less. That being said, you don't have to put 20% down. There's a lot of ways around getting 10% down and 5% down, even on a conventional loan. So be sure to talk to your mortgage loan officer about those options if you haven't already. Be sure to check out my website, freesgrouphomes.com, and look at your mortgage calculator on my website for more details. So the next charge is going to be when you first enter into the transaction. The first charge is going to be your inspection and then appraisal fees. So this typically runs less than $1,000, but it is per property. So if you go under contract with a single property, expect it to be about $1,000, and it can be a little more depending on what type of inspection you want to do, whether or not you scope the sewer lines, whether or not you want to do a termite inspection, which are recommended out here. And the appraisal fee itself can be included into the closing statement. Okay, so it's time to talk title fees. There are essentially two title fees that you'll be paying. The first one is going to be the title insurance fee, which typically runs about $3,000 and is due at closing. And the second one is going to be the title research fee, and that's about $300, and of course it's dependent on the property that you're buying. Let me know if you want a video on title fees and title insurance. There's a lot to cover in that area, so it's definitely worth its own video out here. Alright, so finally and most importantly, it's the tax man. He wants his money. So there's two types of tax fees that will be associated with purchasing a property. One of them is dependent on the value of the loan, if there is a loan, and the other one is dependent on the house itself. The first tax is going to be the dock stamp tax. That's going to be
Motivated.
The first is the dock stamp tax. It's a tax that is going to apply to any property that is purchased out here in Florida. And since we've been using an estimate of $500,000 for the purchase price of the home, the fee for that would be roughly about $4,000, not $400. That's of course dependent upon the property purchase price, so be sure to put that in as a closing cost. The second tax is the intangible tax. This will be applied towards the loan of the properties, not the value of the purchase price. So for example, we've been using this $500,000 house, and you use 20% down, meaning you put down $100,000. That would mean your loan is a $400,000 note. The intangible tax will charge 2 mils for that $400,000, leading to a tax of $10,000. Last on the list is your escrow funding fee. This is 2 months of your mortgage payment due to fund your escrow account. The nice part is that they are going to take out the first month's mortgage, so after the second month of you living in your property, that will be your first mortgage payment due. So a little bit of a break there. Now we're going to move into the lesser known variables and charges of home buying. So let's take a look. So this list is largely dependent on where you're moving and how long it'll take you to get settled into your place. I kind of generalize them into 3 different categories, so let's take a look at each individual one. So first is going to be the transportation and moving costs for general items. I'm talking boxes, bags, bubble wraps, an old truck to get your stuff from one spot to another, and basically anything else that would come in the form of moving. So there's a couple of different workaround costs. If you don't want to have a mover do it yourself, you can of course use Facebook Marketplace to get the materials in order to put your stuff into boxes. Additionally, you can use uhaul.com in order to calculate how long and how much it will be to transport your stuff by yourself in the truck from one spot to another. If you want to do a little bit more of an upgraded experience but still want to move it yourself, you can go to pods.com in order to have them drop ship a container or several containers depending on how much stuff you have to move, and they will calculate how long you need it to be in storage, how long you're going to have it, and how far you're going to have it from your next home. Of course, the highest cost option is to have someone do it entirely for yourself, which is not bad if you're short on time or you don't have an entire family of brothers like I do to help move your mom out from Georgia. So next on this list is going to be lodging. This is wildly dependent on how long it's going to take you to get to your new property. So for example, if you want to move down to Florida and you haven't selected a property in Saint Petersburg yet, and you want to still sell your house to not have a sale contingency, that's certainly an option. And there's a few other methods that you can use in order to get down here. The first, obviously, the most cost effective is staying with a family member or friends. That's kind of dependent too on if you want to put up with them for that long. It usually is about 3 months to find your property out here. So think about that if you're going that route, but certainly a good cost-effective option. Midterm Airbnbs are also available from a month-to-month basis, and since you have a little bit of time and it's going to be stressful to find your next property if you haven't done so already, why not take an Airbnb on the beach and just enjoy yourself while you're in this kind of stressful environment of finding your next property. Finally, if you want an upgraded experience, there are several hotels in the downtown St. Petersburg area that do month-to-month rates, and that certainly is a little bit of a luxury experience if you haven't selected your home already. Alright, finally is food. So I'm a home cook and I enjoy making my own food. Although, that being said, there are plenty of places out here in St. Petersburg to try out, and that might be a nice little segue to an introduction to St. Petersburg. We have a lot of really awesome restaurants, but the problem is it can get pretty pricey if you don't have a working kitchen. A nice workaround for this is if you are staying in an Airbnb, typically they are equipped with full kitchens. So salt, pepper, and rice, I mean, it's a fantastic meal, right? But be sure to add up all of these costs so that way you aren't caught unexpected when you come down here and the food is a little bit more than you initially planned. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys today. If you have any unrelated moving expenses, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you are planning on moving down here to St. Petersburg or anywhere in Florida, check my link in the description for a relocation package. It's got a couple of tools that I think you might be helpful to you. Anyway, this is Nicholas. I'll see you next time.